Why are we here?
Joni and Jackie, I know that you went to Guatemala City, to the Guatemala Stove Project this year for the first time, right?
Mm-hmm. That's right.
For the first time. Did anything, Joni, make you cry?
Your back.
Yes, that's true. At one point, my back was not very good, and I was pretty exasperated. But no, I was moved, but I didn't find myself. I don't remember being teary. I just remember being moved.
And what moved you?
Well, I guess the bravery of well, I was particularly interested in the lot of women, and just to see what they do, what they have to do every day with their energy and focus.
You went there with not just building stoves in mind, but also with learning something about women, right?
Yes.
About the what women went through there, and perhaps in helping. Did you bring supplies for women, or?
I brought well. You're right. I did have a focus before I went down. Although I was interested in the whole project, but because of my work at a women's shelter, I had connected with the women's shelter in Shela, and also just the let me just think. I have to articulate this. Throughout the trip, it was evident that the women were finding their voice. They were, through the women weaving cooperatives in particular, because I was a weaver, not professionally, but interested in fiber and weaving, and I found that the weaving cooperatives, and we were involved with 2 while we were away, and I just felt that it had given women the camaraderie, taking them, they were less isolated, and they had the opportunity to really voice what they themselves needed.
So providing women, would you say, with microloans, would you say that can really help their lot, help them to be stronger and more independent?
It's very possible that the microloans, I only understand very superficially what that means, but I think that it could in some situations. These particular cooperatives that we were involved, we sort of got to see, one in Comatencio and the other in Panajachel, serving women from a geographic area around those communities. They definitely had a source of funding for the organization, or the organization had funding, shall we say, and then they spread it out amongst these individuals. But
that's what AMID does. It helped those women,
yes,
with micro,
that's right. Right.
With microloans too.
And then in Pana there was something called Maya Traditions, and it's been operating for some 13, longer than AMID really, and they have 80 weavers that they support, that they get weaving. It's fair trade. So you know, it's microloans. There's an awful lot of weavers out there, as you know from having visited markets. Those weavings were from all over the place, and I'm sure microloans might serve them.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
What was it like, Jackie, to be traveling in something that was with a project that could be so touching, and you could have such an immediate impact on people, and experiencing that with your wife?
Well, I mean, actually we experienced it with 22 other people.
I know, we didn't really know each other that well.
No, we didn't, but we
but
worked,
you know
but
your
we
wife.
worked in small groups, and that, you know, when you work 4 or 5 hours beside somebody on a project, you get to know them pretty quickly. It was great. I mean, there's nothing better, if you're talking about traveling in a country, there's nothing better than to have a project, because that kind of project gets you into situations and into places that you would have no access to. I mean, that's the key to the front door, really, of private homes, and then you get to glimpse daily life, and you get to see what these people look out you know, you get to see, you get to look out the window from the inside out, and it makes quite an impression when you visit a country. And this was certainly, you know, I hadn't traveled in South America or Central America really, other than as a tourist before. So you know, it does get you pretty far beneath the surface, and that's very satisfying. It enhances your view of the world, your view of other people.
But what about your relationship with your wife? At the end of the day, after a long day, did you discuss the project? Did you, when you went home, you were both experiencing it? You both experienced it together, so it's something that you shared. And I'm wondering if that, you know, deepened your relationship, how it affected you.
I would say,
Well,
wait a
I mean-
minute. I would say that it wasn't until we got home that there was even the energy to really talk about it, because honestly, we would fall into bed at 8:30 at night, 8:30, and we would be out cold until about 3 when the rooster crowed. You know, there was not. I mean, you know, a lot of our communication is nonverbal. Like we,
Of
you know, sort
course.
of can relate to certain things, or sort of know when it's just not our cup of tea. But it wasn't until we got home, I think, that we've been able to articulate, you know, some of
Well,
the things that meant something to
what-
both of us.
I
Because
think
it was different
any shared experience, you know, is going to enhance your relationship.
Yeah.
And would you
but you know what?
recommend
We've
this?
band at this for about 40 years now, so
At the marriage, at the relationship thing.
at enhancing our relationship.
And on a whole, like the two of you traveling together and then meeting up with a group, do you think that what you contributed to the group is something that had value and was important
As a couple, you mean, or as
As a-
individuals?
as a couple?
I don't know. I mean, you know, we just were who we were. I suppose we contributed as much as anybody else. We built a few stoves, and the group was entirely congenial. You know, looking back, I don't think there were any
Yeah, no conflicts.
interpersonal hassles at all, which in a group of 24 adults, and actually not entirely adults, there were a few youngins there
yeah.
too. But the age spread was really from teens to over 70.
Yes.
And we all got along as equals, and we all got along well, surprisingly enough. I think it's because, you know, we had our daily challenges. The accommodations were often meager, adequate, but meager by North American standards anyway. There was the altitude, which was definitely a challenge, getting used to the lack of oxygen and being required to, you know, walk along mountain paths at a steep angle. So there, you know, and not to mention a work day, you know, in a dusty, rarefied atmosphere. So I think as a group we did tremendously well.
I think as
Very
a married
satisfying.
couple, though, I think if people, you know, that kind of trip could stress a relationship. I don't think there's any doubt about it, because honestly, you know, I mean,
I don't think so. When you've
I've
got
never
No.
been a print. No, wait a
I would
minute.
think ordinarily it would strengthen a relationship because you're sharing a challenge.
No. I'm saying in a relationship, if it's stressed, it's going to get more stressed because
Yeah.
of. But that wasn't the case with us, because we're sort of comfortable in each other's space and also give each other space. So, you know, for Jackie to be off doing something, if I'm unable to do something or the opposite, you know, it's okay.
What I saw though was the two of you supporting each other in quite a lovely way. So when you had hurt your back, it's a strenuous thing what we were doing. Jackie was often rubbing your back or taking care of you. And when Jackie was sick, you were looking out for him. And I think, you know, it's nice for people to step outside their comfort zone as a couple, where you get into kind of a rut, and to do something different and to share that unique experience together. So I think it was wonderful to watch the two of you together.
Thanks. No, I quite agree that, you know, and I would love other challenges down the road, if I would be allowed.
Anyway, that's good. That's really what I wanted to talk to the two of you about.
Yeah.
Because you know, she's making.
You can put your relationship in a different scenario and see how it pans out and learn from that.
There was no, I might add, there was no occasion to do any marriage counseling, though, in terms of our relationships. You know, like you know, as solid as our relationship might be, you know, it was not. We didn't have to be examples to anybody.
No, and you know, it just is just something that I personally, you know, I'm an observer, right? So it's just something that I observed, and I thought, if we're making, you know, a video about the trip, and if we were to show it to people, we're talking about father who brings his daughter, and you know, two men who travel together, and women who travel alone, people who travel as a couple. It's an interesting example for people to step outside their everyday life and to take that chance to do something else besides lie on a beach together beside each other and read a book, where you actually have to physically work beside each other in difficult, as you said, challenging situations. And you guys did a great job of that.
Yeah, we have, you know, very little difficulty sort of sharing our space with other people, because we started off our relationship living in communes, and I won't go into any detail, but
it's a challenge.
You're that old?
It's a challenge to find a few moments when there's not other people around. But anyway.
Well, anyway, so that's why I asked you those.
Yeah, no,
I'm trying to ask
it.
everybody different questions, because otherwise my video girl here will be hitting me. So
boring. No, I think that makes sense. Obviously,
she's in charge.
In terms of an interesting video.
Well,
I'm silent.
You know, going outside your comfort zone is the key.
As
You've
a
got to
couple,
actually accept that you are doing that.
Yeah.
And in this case, I was a little nervous before the trip, because it seemed way out of my comfort zone.
Right.
But I must say that Guatemala is such an interesting and amiable and receptive, at least the parts of it that we saw, the cultures that we were exposed to.
Yeah.
They're so receptive to the work that we do and to us as individuals, that it was, you know, the physical stuff became kind of very, very secondary. I found that whatever difficulties there were completely overshadowed by the interesting, sociable, friendly kind of sharing that we found among Guatemalan people.
It's great. Thank you very much for coming to us.
Thank you.
You're welcome.